I journal so much that I'm going to record my thoughts and try to articulate them in the best way that I can so that I can be able to put those thoughts temporarily to bed. I say temporarily because that's really what all it is. It's so deeply embedded into my subconscious that when I work, when I am just kind of going about my day, I really think about these thoughts like every single day. So I can't necessarily pinpoint the time in my life when this started to become a serious desire of mine. And I could probably guesstimate that when I began to get closer to the demarcation line of youth and adulthood, and more experience and responsibility, and becoming more aware of the world that I live in, is probably when I started to really have these thoughts. And if I wanted to go a little bit further, maybe when I was in college, because that's a time of life where you become very, aware of yourself, you're learning yourself, you're shaping yourself. A lot of things are a part of the molding process. You're gaining things, you're losing things, a lot of trial and tribulation and triumphs. And so as I get older, I really desire a simplistic lifestyle. And so what do I define as a simplistic lifestyle? Something that we necessarily weren't completely born with, but we have, and that's control. I want to be able to control my day from start to finish. And when I say control, I don't mean control whether it's a completely good day or a completely bad day. Those things I know are not in my control. What I mean by control is when you think about an entrepreneur, a lot of people assume that entrepreneurs are able to really define their day, really construct their day. And that's partially true because they don't have to clock into a 9 to 5. They still have to put in that time and that effort to manifest their business, work towards their business, but they have control over which portion of the day. Do they want to work a 60+ hour week? Do they want to work more than 8 hours devote more than 8 hours in a day to their business? Do they want to do it in the morning? Do they want to just focus on the midday? Do they want to focus on the afternoon? The flexibility of life is something that I have begun to really desire. And I think what really sparked it is when I realized that the path of life that I was living on wasn't necessarily befitting for me. On my website, the first blog post that I have published is about the timetable. Growing up, my family taught, get, regular primary, secondary education, go on to higher education, possess a degree, have a career, get your own house, car, get married, and then the rest is history. And it sounds great, sounds very Disney fairy tale-ish, but not everybody's life is meant to be that way. And who's to say that my passion in life is behind a career? And so I lived on that path. I did very well in primary and secondary school. I did very well and going to, achieving higher education. I have a degree. I wouldn't say that I really pursued the career. I mean, I've been holding my current employment for going on 3 years. Wow. Yeah, started February 2018, 19, 20. Wow, this is the longest I've ever worked somewhere. So, okay, all praise be. So, and even within the employer that I'm working for, I have made changes. I don't have the same position from when I started in 2018 to now. So I would say that I'm working towards establishing that career. But I'm realizing that a job, which, I mean, it's not a shocker, but a job is merely not a fulfiller. It's a lovely thing to be able to make your passions into a career, make your passions into a job, so that when you wake up every morning, you don't think, oh, I don't want to do this. So, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a part of where I'm at when it comes to like the simplistic way of life, is that I really want to take my passions and I want to do that every single day. And not just because it pays the bills, but because it's something that is a part of my purpose. Like, I am really trying to go deep within to figure out how to define my purpose. I can tell you all day long what I enjoy doing. I enjoy public speaking. I enjoy writing. I enjoy therapeutic conversations with people about experiences, about growth, about spirituality, and things of that nature. Things that I constantly do with people in my inner circle. I just enjoy doing for a living. That's what pushed me to take the risk on creating a podcast and then going further and creating a website. And I have to, going back to that entrepreneur thought process, I need to invest more time into my business of the Keyona Speaks brand. Like, I wouldn't say that it's actually a business, but it's kind of like a hobby that I'm really trying to grow and develop and see, like, could this get me to fulfilling my purpose? Could this be the meal ticket that turns a career into a passion that doesn't feel like a job? Most High knows best, but I know that whatever it is that I'm aspiring to do in life, I need to do less of this and more of doing. So when I record videos like this, it enables me to really kind of try to articulate my thoughts and my feelings so that I can look back at it and try to create a game plan. I feel like a lot recently in life, and like probably the past year or so, I've been doing a lot of talking and not a lot of doing. And that's not a good character trait to have, because we need to be people of implementation, because sometimes you can talk yourself crazy. And I know that in our minds, in our heads, we have, the voice of fear, the voice of negativity. And that's something that I fight with all the time, telling myself that, I hear so many successful stories that I find to be really unique to people, but it can be also inspiring how there are people that have this passion, this goal to fulfill something, and they quit their 9-to-5s. And, they're fearful. They think that, they quit their 9-to-5s, they may be struggling, and then things turn around and things get better. I've never been that much of a risk taker to just say, I'm going to quit my 9-to-5 and solely focus on this and just see where things go. I try to be a dreamer and a realist. And plus I have debts. And I really prioritize having positive payment history and pay my debts, but that's neither here nor there. So yes, I just want to live a simplistic life, being able to control the hours within my day, being able to comfortably and flexibly say, okay, on this day, I feel like my peak time of energy and productivity is, let's say, from 10 to 6. And I want to work that day. Like, being able to choose when I'm productive is something that I've really been yearning for. With all that's going on with COVID-19, I'm very appreciative to be able to still be employed with my employer and be remote. There are people who have lost their jobs, and I truly empathize with them, because that's a deep fear that I have, is losing my job and not being able to maintain paying my bills, paying my debts. So I'm appreciative that I'm able to work remotely. Now, what I will say is, by being remote, the experience is really pushing these thoughts that I have kind of laid low. It's kind of like they're pushing more to the forefront. I struggle at times in the morning discerning, like, do I have the energy between 7 and 9 to really start my day? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, and it's kind of cute, but I give myself an incentive of food to kind of like roll myself out of the bed. Like, I will treat myself to a carry out of like Panera bread just to kind of like push myself to start my day. And I actually did that when I wasn't working remotely, when I would have to get up and start my day and go into an office. I would use the incentive of food to really push myself to go into work a little bit early, because I wanted to get off a little bit early and things like that. But kind of like doubling back to like your passions and a job, one thing that I've been reflecting on as I've been searching within myself to figure out what it is career-wise that I want to do, or just purpose-wise what it is that I want to do, I realized that what kind of sets me apart or sets me off from devoting so much of myself to a job, because if you think about the time you spend in the day, if you're a young person, a lot of your time in the day is spent at school. If you're an adult, a lot of your time is spent at work. And then you have to fill in time for yourself, time for rest, time for socialization, time for family, time for, doctor's appointments and errands and things you need to, it kind of filters around your work. Some people will really not take time off from work because they don't want to make up that time, or they don't get PTO and things like that. So anyway, back to my point. I realized that, I work for an entrepreneur, and I learned cool things about working for this entrepreneur. And I think working for an entrepreneur enables you to really evolve compared to like a Fortune 500, 700, whatever 100 company where mobility may not be as fast. The mobility that I've experienced working for my current employer has been pretty fast in my opinion. And that's a great thing, because as my managers have seen growth, opportunities have opened up for me. But back to my point, I'm trailing off. The company that I work for is ultimately a dream, a passion of my employer. And myself and my other coworkers, we work towards fulfilling that dream and that passion of my coworker. And it's a beautiful thing to learn about business from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and seeing the growth of the company to eventually a Fortune whatever company. And but I realized that I have days where I work those 8 hours to work towards my employer's dream and passion of advancing the company that I work for to be, so much better, and continuously be in its own lane, and to, beat against the competitors. But I don't have I don't put forth the same time, that same energy into myself. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about my own dreams and passions, but just ultimately into myself, like spending 8 hours, using my brain, exercising my brain for my employer, and then coming home and just wanting to eat and go to sleep. There's so many more hours left in the day that I could devote to exercise, checking up with loved ones, doing something that contributes to a goal of mine, and the list can go on. And so what I'm starting to think is that I need to create a regimented lifestyle, so that I can start to really maximize on my use of time. I can start prioritizing things a lot better. And it's so funny as I'm saying these things, it's kind of like, Keyona, you know this, but it's like, when are you going to implement it? When are you going to implement it? And I think another thing is being remote due to COVID. I feel very stagnated. Combination of things, because at one point, things are starting to open up, but things were closed. So you can do anything but really be in the house. And now that things are slowly opening up, it's like I'm kind of shedding off that quarantine vibe, and like, okay, I can start going out more, but I spend a lot of my time home. Also, I newly relocated to a new state, so kind of like trying to learn that state and stuff like that. But I just want to live a simple lifestyle. I just want to be flexible. I want to, be able to sleep in the morning if I want to, and then wake up, get my day started and work. And if I don't have the energy to complete a full 8-hour shift, be able to just end my day early and be like, okay, how am I get up tomorrow? Or I got this PTO and I use it to that. I feel like it's a lot of politics when it comes to the work schedule. And I have heard of reports of countries who literally have a 4-day work week. Or just have flexibility with how you can work and things like that. So I feel like ultimately, I understand the hours you work equals the wages that you make, but when people are not making a living wage, what does working 8 hours a day really do for them? And I'm not throwing shots at my employer. I'm just thinking in general, if you are busting your butt working 8 hours of a day, and when you get your paycheck, you're still not living a living wage according to the locale that you're in, that's not a good compensation. But that's neither here nor there either. It's a different conversation. But yeah, like it's like so many things I just want to freely do. Another thing is it's cute how life really can, like, before you are in a certain stage of your life, you can have these preconceived notions about how you would go about doing things and what you wouldn't do and what your thought process is. And then when you get into that stage of life, it's kind of like all that you said, all that you assumed that you would do, it kind of goes all the way out the window. And I say that to say that, like, as I get older, I also want to shed these implanted thoughts in my head about how I should carry myself as a human being with all of the titles and labels that I possess. You know, I have a lot of intersectionality, and within intersectionality, so if you're not familiar with the term intersectionality, I don't know a specific definition off the top of my head, but what I will say to try to help you understand is that intersectionality is pretty much where all your identities meet. So to give you an understanding, I'll break my intersectionality down. So I'm a female, Black. So that's intersectionality right there, Black and female. And so within this intersectionality of Black and female, there are experiences that are very unique to being Black and female. Okay, another intersectionality is I'm Muslim. So Black, female, Muslim. And then so I hope you're kind of getting the different things. So, and then you can add in you can add in my socio-economic background. You can add in my sexual preference. You can add in my educational level, and things like that. You can add in the fact that I don't have any disabilities, so I'm considered, and I don't know if this is politically correct, but an able-bodied person. So you can just really get really specific or get really broad with intersectionality. But within everybody's identity, society has a predominant definition on how we should perform ourselves, how we should be as ourselves. And as I get older, it's like I don't want to live like that. But at the same time, it's like so deep rooted into my subconscious that it naturally comes out on its own, and it causes me stress. For example, so I'm a newlywed, and before getting married and doing premarital counseling, my partner and I, we talked about just really not living with gendered roles. But it's crazy, as soon as I got married and we started living in the same household, those preconceived gender roles started to pop in my head, and I started to push myself to live according to those rules. And it was really making me frustrated. And I knew that if I didn't have these conversations with my partner about what I was thinking and what I was feeling compelled and forced to do, and it's all in my head. It's not like my partner is putting that vibe out there, because like I said, we talked about it. And so talking to my partner about it, like literally, if I would not have spoken to my partner about me feeling pressured to do things that are defined for women or wives, I probably would have resented him. But having the conversation and telling him, like, I know we said that we weren't going to really push gendered roles in our household, but because I work remotely and I'm home all the time, I feel like I'm compelled to do the more womanly domesticated stuff. Like I don't understand how that just kind of like started to be my focus when it's not even something that I naturally wanted to do. I wanted to kind of like cohabit this space where we're both cleaning, we're both cooking, we're both doing X, Y, and Z. And that's what we agreed to do, and that's what we work towards. It's just, in the beginning stages of being married, I just felt compelled to do more of it or whatever. And so that kind of thought process is like what I'm trying to move out the way. Another thing is I want to be my natural, beautiful self. I don't want to look at the examples that society has put forth to define how I should beautify myself and for my partner. I want to choose how I beautify myself and for my partner. Now I'll take information from my partner about, the things that he likes that I do that is beautiful, or, interests that he has as far as, beauty, and consider those things. But to slave myself and I don't even want to use the word slave, but to pressurize, and the Caribbean pressurize yourself, to pressure myself into thinking that I have to do X, Y, and Z to be this, to look beautiful to myself and to be perceived as beautiful for my partner. Like, I want to lose all that. I want to genuinely just be Keyona. Like, but it's very difficult when you live in a society that has, in different ways, blatantly and subliminally placed these things into your psyche, your subconscious, through media, through educational institutions, through, how your upbringing, your culture is. But as I get older, it's just like, I want to remove all that hoopla, all that chattiness, distractions, and just authentically just be me, unapologetically be me. And I guess I'm living right now in a spiritual awakening. And when I say spiritual, I'm thinking more of like my soul, my internal thought process, not really on a religion. Well, religion and spirituality are actually different. But when you think about the other spiritual awakenings, stuff like that, like I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking like really awakening into my true essence, my true being. I pray that all of this that I'm going through is guiding me to becoming a better me. And I think the more that I journal about it, the more that I make videos like this, just expressing myself, that it helps me to really, as I'm talking, articulate where I think I'm at in life. And another thing is, I really want to work on being like loving, compassionate, forgiving, patient, nurturing, welcoming, accepting of myself. And that goes into what I was just talking about as far as like living my life and separating how I live my life from how society is trying to tell me how to carry myself, how to beautify myself, how to pursue a career X, Y, and Z. Like, to be able to say, all right, Keyona, you are as you should be. You make your mistakes. I love you. I forgive you. You had this negative, thoughtful day. Lift your head up. Speak positivity into life. Like, really, the way that I talk and coach and love and advise others, is that same energy needs to apply to me. And I feel like the old like the adage goes, like, easier said than done, or practice what you preach. Like, I need to love upon myself the same way that I love upon other people. I need to be patient with myself like I try to be patient with other people. I need to really nurture and mother and adore myself, because at times I realize that the child in me still needs some loving. And once I love upon that child and I forgive that child, will that child soon go away, and I can be more comfortable in my adult self. Like, it's certain like childhood traumas that need to be resolved, and they don't always come out at certain times. Sometimes you're in a certain stage of your life and that trauma comes out, and you just go and you think about that child in you, how you were as that child, and you just love upon that child and you nurture that child, and then that healing process manifests, and eventually, you're healed. So many things. I feel like this video is a ramble, but this literally is my mind. And I'm sure there are other people out there that are probably in the same stage of life. And if you are, I'm very interested in like what your thought process has been. Have you been like, manifesting yourself? What have you been doing to really take your words and put them into fruition? Very interested about that, because we are living on a journey. Will we ever arrive? No. This world is not meant to make us actually arrive, because just as much as I'm talking about achieving certain things in this video, let's say tomorrow, let's say in months, let's say in a year to come, I achieve those things. I'm actually able to flexibly choose how to live my day. There's going to be something else that I'm going to be striving for. We're always striving. And so like, I'm not striving for a perfect life. I'm not striving for a life where there's no woes, no problems. Because like I said, like, I want control, but there's certain control that I will never possess. But I just want to be like, all that hoopla that I like really like house in my brain, I want it to be released, so that I can enjoy every millisecond of life, because life is so short and death is a true promise. And I don't want to keep pushing things off to tomorrow. I don't want to keep honing on negativity and just, neglecting myself, because that's not a form of self-love, self-care. So, and I ultimately don't want to put the responsibility on my job, on my partner, to make me feel whole and happy, because that's something that I manifest and I work towards myself. And so with that being said, I hope that this video, looking back on this video in time to come, that I look at it and say, wow, this is what I felt and this is what I have become and I'm pleased with it. Or I look at it and say, this is how I felt and this is how I'm feeling and this is how I'm going to choose to keep working towards until I become. Thank you for listening to my video. Please like, comment, share, and I hope you have a wonderful day.